This season on My Money Mentors. My name's Chris Corinthian.
I'm Jacqueline Schadeck.
Ready for action.
We are a professional powerhouse.
I've got a brand new feeling.
So I handle the numbers.
And I try to see what is their relationship with money.
So we meld the two together to give you the most financial empowerment.
I've got a brand new feeling, and I'm feeling good.
How you feeling, Jolt 2025? How you feeling, Jolt 2025? We're fired up, we're ready to go? I like the energy. October 1st, 2023, it's a Sunday. I get this email in my inbox, my personal inbox. It says, thank you. Hey, Jacqueline. That font's too small to read. Thank you so much for working with us, and we're sorry that we're not a good fit for you. We wish you the best. Effective today, you are no longer affiliated with said company. Please reach out to your new FMO so you can transfer, get completed on the timeline, blah, blah, blah. This caught me off guard. Some of us have been let go from a role before, yes? Usually catches us off guard. And so now I had a question. I was like, all right, what do I do now? My last W-2 was in 2021. So between 2021 and 2023, I had been consulting with a few different firms. I'd finally made a decision on my niche and was going all in on that. The way that I was doing that was partnering with this company. We had big plans, but apparently we weren't on the same page. So fast forward, how am I standing before you on stage right now? The last thing I told you about was getting let go from my job. So now I've opened Golden Wealth Strategies, the branding you would have seen on the first page. I have 2 office locations, one in Atlanta and one in DC. And today I'm here to really tell you guys a little bit about my story, to help give you a playbook, to help motivate you, maybe inspire some of you. And so I think it can be helpful to break down some of those details. So I have an office in Atlanta and one in DC. So Atlanta was my primary, and I started working with a company in DC, so I was going back and forth from Atlanta to DC for work. And so when I launched Golden Wealth Strategies, I sat down with a media consultant and I said, hey, I've been doing TV and radio for the last 8 months successfully, but I want to be able to do that underneath my own brand. And so because Georgia is a swing state, this media consultant said, hey, you should focus on DC. You should make a decision and go all in. And in making that decision, I decided to make DC my primary instead of my secondary. So for those of you who are taking notes today, I think that should be the first thing that you write down, is to make a decision and go all in. Because with a lot of advisors, we get stuck in the shiny object syndrome, right? There's this prospect that's over here, and we've got that kind of prospect over there, and they have a lot of money because Coke just did layoffs. And so then we end up chasing all of these different people to not get the result that we're looking for. So my first recommendation is to make a decision and go all in on that decision. And so when I made that decision to go to DC, we focused marketing on DC. With that, I had a radio show in Atlanta already, and so we coupled it with the one in DC because the one in Atlanta was performing well, all right? On top of that, I now have 2 TV shows. So how do you go from being fired, being let go from your job, to being on national television with PBS? And I don't have any special formula for my marketers here today to help you get your advisor on PBS, but I can give you some of the tips and tools that I use to be able to get there, okay? So the first thing that you need to be able to get a national show is visibility. A lot of people think that I pitched the TV show to PBS when in fact PBS found me. So there I was, fired from my role, not sure exactly what was gonna happen next, but knew it was time for me to launch my own thing. So I moved into action pretty quickly, had a location within a week, a physical office, was getting all the proper paperwork done, was alerting clients. And so I decided that I was going to move forward with maintaining my social media presence, okay? And so I got a call about 2 weeks into this process, and it's a call from Brianna. She says, hey, are you Jacqueline Plans? Yeah, but nobody actually calls me that. Jacqueline Plans is my social media name. So if you're looking for my handles, everything's under Jacqueline Plans. She says, hey, we have an idea for this TV show and we want you to host it for us. So they found me on social media and decided, hey, we like your personality. We like what you're talking about. Will you host the show for us? Okay. So while I can't give you that same connection for yourself or your advisor, I can tell you that the visibility matters. So some of the small things that you're doing right now that you may feel like are insignificant, that don't matter, right? Learning how to be comfortable on video, doing the bombs, right? Signing up for Snappy and sending out the emails. All of that is visibility, and it all builds on itself. And that's why we're talking about momentum today. All right, so I like for you to start with momentum with what's free. Because had I not gotten the reps for free on social media, I wouldn't have been able to do the TV show with PBS, okay? Now that's just the first TV show. From the first TV show has blossomed the second TV show. The second TV show is actually sponsored by Mutual of Omaha and Finstream, okay? So you can find those. I actually recommend that you guys go check those out. So if you look on finstream.tv, you type my name into the search, you'll be able to find the TV show, My Money Planners, okay? 2 different TV shows, 2 different concepts, but I've had a ton of advisors come to me and say, hey, I want to be able to replicate this because it is a huge closing tool, okay? Everybody loves to have some content that they can see. They want to see you in action, right? On the panel that I was just on earlier, we talked about building trust. And how do we build trust, okay? Those are one of the ways that we're able to build trust is through the content. So where are we now? Let's move forward and talk about this story, fired to fully booked. So I started my career in 2014, all right? And I think that this kind of timeline will be helpful for your younger advisors or your advisors who seem to be struggling with getting in front of the camera or participating in marketing, okay? So in 2014, I got started in the industry. I was very curious, okay? So I just wanted to figure out as much as I could, and so I volunteered with the Financial Planning Association. So for your young advisors, I would say, get involved, volunteer with the Financial Planning Association, NAPFA, wherever you can to get more experience. Do the pro bono planning, even though you don't know the answers to the questions yet. 2017, I earned my CFP certification, and that was when I launched into Instagram, okay? Between 2014 and 2017, I served on the board for the Financial Planning Association in the public relations chair. Okay, so I was responsible for building the website and managing all of our social media. So as I was managing the social media for FPA, they said, okay, well, where's your social media? I said, I don't have any. I don't like social media. I'm an introvert. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want people to know my business. Crazy, right? Because I'm standing up here in front of how many people now? And I still would consider myself to be an introvert. But I say that because anybody can do it. Anybody can figure it out, okay? I've talked with some marketers who are helping to manage multiple advisors in a firm. So I'm hoping that this is a story that you can use for them because I was uncomfortable talking to clients. I was uncomfortable on stage. I was uncomfortable in front of the camera. If you really want to, you can search on YouTube. Go back to 2019, search my name. You can find the first podcast interview that I ever did. It's ugly. It's ugly. My face was just stern. It was boring, terrible lighting. The stories weren't great. But you have to start somewhere, and you have to get the reps in. So 2017, I earned my CFP. Pro bono chair says, where's your social media? I said, all right, I got to get some social media. So I launched Jacqueline Plans. I made my own personal website. Forget compliance, sorry, compliance. I made my own personal website. I launched Jacqueline Plans as social media handle. And then for the next few years, I just figured it out. I just played with it, tried to figure out what worked, what didn't work, okay? Eventually 2020 hits, and I figure out how to start selling on social media, okay? And so it's interesting because in the beginning, I didn't mention to you guys anything about social media, right? And organic is awesome, but that's not part of the strategy these days. What I learned about doing organic social media was that you really need to know exactly who you're speaking to, exactly who your audience is, exactly what you're trying to sell. And I find a lot of times with advisors, we can't answer those questions. And so social media ends up not producing like we expect it to. But I do think it's a good foundational tool. And I also think that it's helpful in helping you to define your niche. I know somebody else was talking about that, but I feel like maybe it's good to hear it from another advisor that I was able to more than 10x my income once I found a niche. You have to find a niche, especially if you're doing organic marketing, because you have to know exactly who you're talking to. Or you're just gonna get frustrated, you're gonna quit. Or you're not gonna put any money behind it. So fast forward to 2020, this is where Investment News ends up reaching out to me. I had about 7,000 followers at the time, so I didn't think it was very much, but they found it article worthy. So they put me into an article, and I talked about using social media because at the time when COVID hit, I actually was fully booked. I was fully booked. People were finding me on social media. So something was working. I also started to play with webinars. I started to add webinars into the mix. Anybody doing webinars in here? Not enough hands raised. I would say not enough hands raised. That's an easy place to grab clients, secure clients. Doesn't require you to leave your house at all. So it is part of the strategy now. I'm doing a weekly webinar at this point. So once a week, we run ads to a webinar. I'm doing the same webinars over and over. The other thing about doing webinars is that it's gonna help with your repetition to help make you more marketable for clients or for other content opportunities. Think of all of these platforms, okay? And I'll give you more details than I'm probably supposed to, but Mutual of Omaha, when I signed the contract to do the TV show with them, they said, all right, we want exclusivity. I said, not giving you exclusivity. They said, all right, fine. These 12 companies you can't work with. I said, okay, I'll sign that. This is 12 of their closest competitors that may want to do what they're doing. So I should be selfish and keep all of this for myself and try to go do shows with all of these competitors. But the proof is that there's opportunity out there. So many people are behind in the content game and they want to increase that. They just don't know exactly how to. So having your advisor prepped and ready to go with, some sort of a sizzle reel or something to be able to make them marketable is going to help extremely with their branding. Okay? I didn't actually define my niche until 2022. It took a while. Nothing seemed to fit. And it's kind of fair because I am a little bit younger, but once I found the niche, like I said, I was able to more than 10x my income. So I want to encourage you to find your niche and drill down on them. If you look at my website, everything is positioned to work with women in retirement. So in 2023, I pivoted from social media actually into traditional marketing. Why did I do that? Because I had defined my niche and I knew where to find them. And I could find them very easily with traditional TV, traditional radio. So I pivoted that way. And I would encourage you, even though we are here to talk about the next wave of things, I would encourage you to still take a look at those traditional marketing platforms. They still can be really powerful. And I think you'll be surprised to find that they cost less than you would expect. So 2024, the TV shows actually go live. They're actually producing a decent amount of lead flow. However, that's not what those TV shows are for. Those TV shows are for branding. So I think figuring out where exactly you're supposed to be getting leads from and what is supposed to be marketing versus what is branding, and still being able to lean into what is branding to help you bring in more clients is going to be paramount as we move forward in this digital era. As it stands right now, we're getting ready to ramp up for a season 2 of My Money Mentors. All right. Unfortunately, the Mutual of Omaha TV show, while it's still running, they have decided not to go forward with a season 2. The reason why they decided not to go forward with the season 2 is because they didn't understand the difference between marketing and branding. The TV show was for branding. The way it was designed, it wasn't designed to actually bring in more leads. The TV show and its setup was designed for branding, okay? If you want to go see what that looks like, feel free to check out one of those 2 shows. That's only for branding. If you want to know what marketing looks like, go on my YouTube, watch one of my local sessions. There's calls to action, there's numbers on the screen. I'm pulling everything back to the client and how they can actually work with me. Those produce leads. Okay, same with my radio shows. If you listen to one of my radio shows, there's a ton of calls to action. The first time I did a radio show, I had 48 call-ins. I don't know if you guys are familiar with radio, but that's a lot of call-ins. It was almost record-breaking for the IMO that I was with. And so if you are thinking about pivoting and doing some traditional marketing, I've always heard that with radio or with TV, you got to be in the right place. But the reality is you've got to find exactly where your niche is and meet them where they are. I'm almost out of time here. We only had 15 minutes together, but I want to talk to you really quickly about your most powerful branding tool, because as people find me across all of these platforms, they always come back to me with the same story. And the story that they tell me is the story that I tell them. This is my family. That's my mom. You can clearly point me out. My brothers. This is where I grew up at. This is a 1,000-acre ranch. Long story short, the property was sold out from under us. My mom inherited $1 million. She went to go see a financial advisor. All that money was gone in 4 years. Boom, that's the story. That's what they spit back to me after they hear me on the radio, they see me on TV, they come to my webinar. They say, oh, I don't remember any of the financial stuff you said. I don't remember how to do the Roth conversion. I don't remember what the annuity is. I don't remember any of that, but I do remember your mom lost all that money and you helped her. So while you may not have that same story, your advisor has a story along those lines. There is a moment where they were working and they had an aha and they decided this is what I'm going to do. And you have to bring that story out. So I want to do honorable mentions because I don't like coming to these and hearing from people and then not getting a resource, okay? I have nothing to sell you guys. But these are some of the platforms that I work with. I do use Snappy, so what's funny is I was asked to come speak and I said, oh, this is, full circle because I actually use Snappy Kraken in my business, okay? So I do use them. I love them. They have helped me to keep me from having to hire many more people. So I do like Snappy Kraken, and then you guys can see my other list of people here. Tango gets an honorable mention. Zeke in here, there you are. Honorable mention. Steep, Jonathan was here. If you are interested in doing webinars, you think that could be a value add, I definitely want you to talk to Steep, okay? Not sponsored, I'm not getting paid by any of these people. These are just people I've used to build my business. So if that's helpful, please take a picture, screenshot, use those companies. I want to leave you with this. I know how important it is to make a decision and go all in. I sat in the middle and I kind of wavered and I thought, maybe I'll do this or maybe I'll do that. But the reality is there's so many different people out there that need our help. You just need to pick the demographic that works best for you, make a decision on them, and go all in. Thank you.